another episode of the Knee Slappin' K-Pop podcast. I'm Sammy. With me today I have Kayla.
Hello.
And we are doing our first, actual repeat episode.
Yes.
Because we did this 3 years ago? 2 years ago. Something like that.
2.5 years, some amount of years ago.
No, I think this was my birthday episode in 2020.
It was. So that would make it 3 years ago.
Oh, damn. We've been doing this for 3 years.
Wow.
So, it was my birthday episode 3 years ago. It's my birthday episode again.
Mm-hmm.
Yay for me.
Hooray.
Hooray. But we are doing another installment in our History of series. And this time we're doing UNIQ.
Mm-hmm.
And this will be the only happy episode we'll ever have.
I know. Because every time we do this, it's like a disbanded UNIQ boy group. And it's just like they just slowly fizzle out of existence. And then some people have successful solo careers, but a lot of them we just never hear from again.
For the most part, people disappear into the ether. Because the ones we've done so far have been, what?
We did K&K,
Top Dog, K&K, and 24K.
No, not yet.
No, not yet. That's one we have coming up.
Mm-hmm.
We will be doing 24K. And trust me when I tell you, we're happy. Everyone else is not happy.
Yep.
This one's happy.
Except for one. But it's a majority happy.
Majority happy. Some people aren't as happy as others.
Right.
But for the
most
majority
part,
of these people went on to bigger and better things.
Yep.
So, yay, we have the complete history of UNIQ. The reason we are redoing it is because that episode from 3 years ago completely got fucked over.
The audio is, so fucked up, and I don't even know how it got the way it is, or,
I don't know. We
what
also
happened
didn't
to
notice it until it was already out.
Until, several months later.
Yeah.
It was far
so
too
that
late.
shows how much quality control we have, but for the most part, we're gonna have to redo it, and what better time, considering we now don't do, birthday episodes on our... That was, first year we did, regular episodes and birthday episodes
and then we were
on the
doing
day of
double
our
episodes,
birthday.
and it was yeah, that's not the way. Not the way
That
to do
was
this.
a terrible idea.
It was a mistake.
We've cut back a lot on episodes.
We've generally just gotten better at having a podcast since 3 years ago.
We
so
really
you know what?
have.
Here we are.
And I think for UNIQ, it's a very good time to just bring it back. So we're redoing episode 40. I went back and I checked, and it's episode, originally, is episode 19.
Oh, wow.
So
Really
now
early.
we're back,
Mm-hmm.
doing it again.
An episode 180 or something like that? 180?
Something like that. It'd be very funny if we had done it a couple months ago and it was 119, but no. Why we keep coming back to this group, it's because they're icons. And also it is... We do these a lot with UNIQ boy groups that disband, that no one remembers, but
we remember.
We enjoy, we remember, and we really like, and we feel like the people need to know about.
Mm-hmm.
And UNIQ, for the most part, falls into that category, except for as a group.
Yes.
Except for the fact that the individual members would go on to do so much.
Right.
But still, the group UNIQ doesn't matter.
Very much so.
As a group, except for us, because we love them. But yeah, so...
One of them will just go on to be China's biggest celebrity, but you know what?
And one of them goes on to be one of the most popular male soloists in Korea.
Yep.
When you have those two...
Here we are.
And then two other ones that are not, the most insignificant people. That are not that are still, in terms of the individual people we've talked about in K&K and in Top Dog... Probably in the upper echelon of, just in terms of people we've done a history on episode.
Yep.
Because there's not really many people up there. And then another one who is kind of what we expect from this kind of story.
But that's, a majority of the ones who turn out good. And then one of them we kind of lost to time. But, it's fine.
Yeah. It's fine. So, to start, a little background. UNIQ was a is one of those groups that never officially disbanded, but you'll see why it would be difficult for this group to come back.
Right.
Is a 5-member boy group. I wrote this also 2 years ago while I still had hope that they would actually even have a comeback.
Right, and now
so
3 years later, here we are.
Much like when I did my Scandal iceberg, or my Scandal, like, chronology last year, this has the problem of I don't know whether to write it in the current or the past tense, so I apologize. But UNIQ is a 5-member boy group with, Shiyuan, Sungjoo, Wenhan, Sungyoon, who most people know as Woods now, and Wang Yibo. And they debuted on October 16th, 2014 under the Chinese company Yehua Entertainment, wherein they promoted in both Korea and China, and all their songs were released in Korean and Chinese. So they were like the I don't know if it was the first, but one of the like big dual country projects,
right?
Where they're like working 50-50 in both countries.
Well, there was the EXO of it all, but before them,
yeah. And also, it's sort of before you couldn't promote in China,
right? Because that's
if
also
that group had stayed together, that would have been a problem.
Yeah,
that would have been a big. They got out of there right before that happened too. So good for them. Their fandom name was Unicorn. Yay, that's a fun.
It's a very fun fandom name.
Yes, it's a good fandom name. Especially because, like, the fandom names are usually so much worse than the group name. And this one kind of feels like if it was done today, the group would be called Unicorn and the fandom would be called UNIQ. And I feel like that's weird.
It would be. Because fandom names are getting worse and worse the longer time goes on, for sure. Mm-hmm.
So, fun. UNIQ was initially planned as a YG group, done in partnership with Yehua. So, similar to how they did WJSN with Starship. So Sungjoo and Sunyoung were originally both YG trainees, and then all 5 UNIQ members spent 2 to 5 years under YG Entertainment as trainees, and then ultimately the group was an only Yehua group. So Yehua sort of had this thing going on.
For the better, they're
for
just
the better
Yehua,
that they were Yehua.
That we don't involve YG Entertainment and all of that.
Can you imagine? This would have been. Oof. When was Winner? Was that 20? No, that would have been the same year as Winner.
That would have been the same time, yeah.
That would have been
like Woods would have went on Win, and that's weird to think about.
That would have been.
That would have been really weird.
Yeah, and thinking about it, Yehua really had this thing because, like, 2 or 3 years later, they would have WJSN, which had 3 Yehua trainees in there. And we saw how that worked out.
Oh, yep.
So, really, I think Yehua was just like, we're not making groups. We'll let other people make groups with us. And it didn't really work out for them. So they debuted in October with their debut single, Falling in Love. One of the greatest K-pop songs ever made. Thank you.
Yep.
In both China and South Korea. They then released an English version on November 5th. And then their first fan meet was in China on November 25th. And I only put that in there because it's very funny that they're a K-pop group. They're first and foremost known as a K-pop group. But so many of their activities from, like, day one are in China.
Yep.
And, like, almost seem Chinese-centric.
They also were...
I don't know what Yehua was doing.
They were majority Chinese as well, the group. So.
Yeah. But all of their releases were done... Like, I don't know if they ever released any, like were always done also in Korea with Korean members doing music shows, doing all that other stuff. So it felt like they were both, like, being split. And I also think that hindered them so greatly in their career because they're good. Well, it just is when they're not here half the time and they're promoting in China and you don't have access to that content because you know how hard it is to get access to Chinese content?
That's the thing that I think a lot of companies have to learn is never the strategy to, like, cross-promote double countries at once because that hasn't worked for a single group and they always end up just getting rid of that concept as well because it's happened to multiple groups at this point.
Yeah, and it always hinders them because it's like you can do it after the group's established. Like, no K-pop group decides to debut in Japan. Like, they don't debut in Korea and then the next thing debut in Japan. No, you wait a little bit. So, in the aftermath of their formation, Yehua had UNIQ release many soundtrack songs.
A lot of soundtrack songs, very
boy.
funny soundtrack songs.
They're hilarious, and I recommend everyone go watch all of them because they're funny. So, for the Penguins of Madagascar movie, they had the song Celebrate. For Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they had Born to Fight. And for the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, Sponge Out of Water, they had Erase Your Little Sadness. Oh boy. Songs, all of these are songs.
A choice that this was the direction they decided to take with the group immediately.
Honestly, those songs are better than they have any right to be.
I mean, they're pretty good for being soundtracks for those 3 movies specifically.
For soundtracks, specifically
the Penguins
Nickelodeon.
of Madagascar.
Just specifically, generally Nickelodeon branded children's animated films. That's the unique branding right there.
And that was apparently, other than the fact that we were doing Chinese and Korean promotions, it was also, yes, we're gonna do soundtracks for all of these Nickelodeon movies. That was the unique branding at the time.
I mean, hey, to be honest, we love it. It worked. They looked like they were having a good time. And also, there is so little... Even more so than, like, some of the other groups we've talked about, there is so little to talk about with UNIQ as a group.
There's really not
I had
a
to
lot.
put in all of this.
There is not a lot of anything they did and their, like, career as a group.
Yep. There's little.
There's so much nothing here.
I mean, compare it to how long I talk about each of the individual members to how long I talk about, like, the group in this script. It's
because
like
the group...
not a page.
The group is active for, I think, less than 2 years, and then that's all we get from them as UNIQ as a group.
Yep. I mean, we're up to it. They only have their debut song and then one comeback, and then everything else from there becomes sort of, like, special songs, and they seem more like, they don't seem like full comebacks.
No.
And that's depressing. So, UNIQ made their first comeback and kind of only comeback on April 22nd of 2015. They held their first comeback broadcast on Show Champion where they did EU and Listen to Me. So I wrote this before I actually owned the album, which is hilarious.
Now, 3 years later, you own the album.
Now I own I would own the album like 2 months after we made that episode. But, so that mini album sold 7,800 copies, which today sounds like that's Nugu numbers. Like, no one sells that little. But, like, even back then was not great. It was better. Like, it was average Nugu numbers back then, I feel like. Because today, that's embarrassing.
Yep.
Like, it's real bad. And I updated, on used on eBay, it costs between $150 to $350, depending on when you're looking and depending on what condition the album's in. It's not if you have it, it's not a cheap album.
No.
As Kayla knows, because they did gift it to me once for my birthday.
It took 3 people to put together the money to buy it, so...
It's not a cheap gift,
It's not a cheap album.
I was very thankful. Thank you very much. It is sort of for anyone that remembered, the weird thing is no one remembers this group. The only people that want this album are fans.
Are the Wang Yibo people. It's really the Wang Yibo fans at this point.
Wang Yibo and the Woods people, I feel like, would, like, want it just to have,
the thing is I don't even know if the Woods fans are intense enough, because, like, the Woods fandom doesn't feel like they're a very intense fandom, but the Wang Yibo fandom feels like very intense.
My thing with I feel like here's the thing, I think the Woods fans would want it if it wasn't $150
right.
per album.
Yes.
And, like, it's $150 if, like, you get that thing when it comes out. Because I've seen, like, those things get bid on. If you let them go on for bidding, I've seen that thing go for, like, 200-something albums. Because, like, there's like, there's no copies of them in the world.
Yeah.
Out there now.
There are, like, no copies of it.
No. And you gotta find someone, 1, where it's still in good condition. 2, someone who still remembers that they own it.
Right.
And 2, is willing to sell it to you.
Right.
And I feel like as time goes on, it's going to get harder to find because more and more people are just going to, well, it's mine now.
Yep.
I'm not getting rid of it. I have one.
Yep.
Not getting rid of it. It's mine.
I feel like most of the people who own that album at this point own it because they want it for a collection and not because they know it has resale value.
Yeah, the problem is, most of those people bought it with on the resale market.
Mm-hmm.
No, and if the weird thing is, if you find, very rarely you find one that's like still sealed, and I'm like, where the hell Jude get this? And those go for like it doubles the price because that still has photo cards in it.
Right.
Photo cards for the album? Impossible.
Damn.
A Wang Yibo photo card for that album? I've never seen one for sale.
Oh my gosh, if there is, it would be like $500.
I've never seen one for sale because it's like wild. But yeah, so that's their only album. Physical album. So then to commemorate their debut, they released a second digital album with the song Best Friend on October 16th. And they had their first anniversary tour, which was in Beijing, Shanghai, and Japan. Not Korea, seemingly. I don't think they ever did a concert in Korea. UNIQ was popular enough to do concerts. It was just like happened to not ever be in Korea.
Yep.
And that really just shows how their career was going.
Mm-hmm.
So then in December 2015, they released Happy New Year with label mates Cosmic Girls making an appearance in the music video. This is a weird one. So then in February of 2016, American magazine Teen Vogue published an article about the 12 boy bands to fill your One Direction shaped hole in your heart. Because this was right after One Direction had gone on hiatus.
Right.
Can we call it a breakup almost 10 years later?
Essentially.
They've broken up. And UNIQ was on there. Why? Don't know.
Very confusing choice.
But like other groups include 5 Seconds of Summer, Il Volo, which for people who don't know is an Italian opera group, a trio, EXO, which is a group. This fits. The 1975, which are not a boy band.
Okay.
1OK Rock, which I also wouldn't call a boy band. And then Generations from the Exile Tribe, which fits also. I like that UNIQ made this list, but in February of 2016, BTS was still not big enough to make the list, but UNIQ was.
UNIQ. I think I have to imagine they were looking for a Chinese boy group, and that was the only thing they found. Whoever wrote this article did minimal effort, and then that was the first group that they came across.
Because you are getting Australia, Italy, Korea, Britain.
They just really wanted the variety and the diversity for some reason.
Very much so. Then they did a song called My Dream for the movie MBA Partners. Fun. They released a Japanese version of Falling in Love in 2016, which makes it up to 4 versions of Falling in Love out there.
We love that.
4. We love that. In 2017, they did Happy New Year 2017. Great. And then they had 2 singles, Never Left and Next Mistake in 2018, which is the same song in 2 different languages. Never Left is Chinese, Next Mistake is Korean, but they're thus the same song, but for some reason they got 2 different titles. Which is weird.
A choice.
And then they never disbanded, but never did anything again.
Yep.
So really, you're looking at, like, if you're looking at just comebacks, I would say you're looking at, what, a year?
Yeah. 1 year.
You're looking at a year. If you want, like, any song they made, you're looking at 4 years?
If we go into the OST digital single, like, fan song territory, yeah.
Yeah.
The entire discography of this group is very small.
It's absolutely
tiny.
It is the tiniest discography we've talked about. By far. Oh boy. It's quite sad. They deserved better. Here's the thing. I think we always end these episodes on did they deserve better? And the thing
they're doing pretty well now is the thing.
Like, I don't know if they need better.
It's like in a way they needed the group to fail so they could go on to better things.
Yeah. So for the most part, how we usually do this is we only talk about, like, briefly about each of the members. Briefly, usually, it's like, because there's nothing to say.
Usually everyone has about, like, 5 sentences where they, like, went on a survival show or they re-debuted or they're doing something else. Yeah. And that's normally what that's like.
Alright. So, you want to just go back and forth on this, Kayla?
Sure. So
take our first boy.
First we got Yishuan. So he in UNIQ was the leader, the Chinese leader, the lead rapper and the vocalist. And he got scouted by Yehua while participating at one of Asia's largest dancing competitions, Keep On Dancing. And so he's the one that would then go on to participate in Rap of China in 2017, which is essentially the Chinese equivalent of Show Me the Money.
Yep.
I would say the show is different in vibe to Show Me the Money by
different
far.
Different in vibe, but it's I would say if you've seen Show Me the Money,
essentially that's what that
you
is.
You kind of get what I'm like. It's called the Rap of China. You kind of like if you've seen Show Me the Money. It's also just because I think rap occupies a different position in China than it occupies in Korea, which is interesting because rap even occupies a different thing in Korea than it does in the US.
Yes.
Like, I think communism is not super into the subversions of rap on society, but, like, that's neither here nor there.
Right. So he did that. That's technically still in the, like, UNIQ being active era.
But it is, I think 2017 is when you really see all of these people, like, start to branch out.
Yeah.
And do, like, a bunch of stuff.
So then, after that, in 2019, he goes on the survival show All for One and debuts in the winning group of that show called New Storm.
All for One is one of those shows that you can't find anywhere. No. You can find clips of it. You can't find it anywhere to watch. But China had this.
It was one of those produce-like, but not produce-like shows.
Yeah. And there were a lot of those in China.
Oh, so many. After that, the produce concept blew up in South Korea. China took that concept and just ran with it. There was
because most people have heard of the fact that like there was official produce and then unofficial produce.
Right.
The thing you don't know is that unofficial produce is really well put together and super popular. There were like 18 unofficial produces.
Yeah. Or it's like the concept of the show is essentially the same. It's like we have all these people, we're gonna make a boy group out of them. And like it's like the concept is the same, except it's technically not, but it is. Like,
yeah,
China had a lot of that going on. Little fun fact: Jacob from VAV also on. All for One.
I literally looked up this show and was like, who is the most popular? Who else
here?
Because there's always one Korean kid,
right?
There's always a person that we tangentially know on one of these shows, and this one was Jacob. From VAV.
Love that. So he then does some minor acting in Chinese dramas and some OST work. And so he also got into songwriting, so he helps write a lot of songs for label mates, particularly Next, who are the next upcoming, like, Chinese-only boy group in Yehua Entertainment. So if anyone knows our producers, that's where, like, Justin and Theo and
ended up,
Feng Chung and all of them from Idol Producer 1.
Yes.
That's Next. And then in October 2020, he released a song, Remember the Day When We, which was dedicated to the UNIQ members and to their fans. Very cute.
Very sweet. Very sweet. This is post-UNIQ era.
And then here we get a wild one right at a very recent one.
This is a new one I found when I was trying to update the script. I absolutely love it. And I tried to find this show so much, but I can't anywhere.
Mm-hmm. So in 2023, this year, he appears on the show called All the Way to Marriage with his real-life girlfriend, Chen Mingyao. So this show is about 3 couples who live together, and they have the actual pre-marriage talk. So the result of the show is meant that all of the couples will make the ultimate decision if they take the next step and get married. Wild concept for a show, actually.
Absolutely insane.
It's insane concept
because these are real couples. Like
right?
They are not like blind date. No, these are
real life couples, and we're literally supposed to talk through all of their premarital issues, like on a reality show.
It's like, do we want to get married? It's fuck.
I was like, okay.
It's like real We Got Married,
right? It's weird, super. And I hate We Got Married to begin with. This is super.
I do too.
Super weird. So, at some point during the show, the other 4 members of UNIQ make congratulatory videos for him, and he ultimately ends up proposing, and she says yes, so they are going to get married for real. Because of this reality show about real-life marriage.
My only hope about this show is that these are, what am I saying? Is that these are couples that were like, oh, we're gonna get, like, they had already had these talks,
right? And it was just
and like we're gonna get married.
Let's put some
but
pizzazz
like, hey, let's
on
just
top
do it
of
for some cash.
Right.
That's fine. That is my biggest hope. Is that I want that to be what happened. I hope that's what happened. I pray that's what happened.
Hope so. An absolutely insane concept for a reality show.
Oh, absolutely. And I wanted to find it so bad. I cannot find it anywhere. I wanted to see, like, a clip of this.
Right.
Alrighty. Next, we go on to Sungjoo. He was born on February 16th, 1994, and he is Korean. He was the Korean leader of UNIQ and their main vocalist. He was a former YG trainee. He was one of the YG trainees that ended up having to get transferred to Yehua when their, like, Yehua YG deal fell through. He did a bunch of acting. Was a supporting actor in, like, Liar and His Lover, Love Up to Your Name, shows that most people, it was a lot of those minor Korean shows. And then he enlisted in the military in March 9th of 2020 and was discharged September 16th of 2021. And that's all the information
And that's where we lose track of him completely.
That's where he has just, I got nothing. I hope he's doing well.
Yep. Hope he's doing well. No idea where he's at anymore.
Like, I just hope he's okay.
Yes. But this is the one member we just, of these new
this is the one member that fits in. This is the one member that fits in with the rest of our history of boys, where most of them disappear.
Right.
I'm sorry, we have nothing to say. You did great in UNIQ. The funny thing is, I feel like he was always the member of UNIQ that got most of the lines in that very, like, second gen kind of way, where he sings a lot.
Right.
And then he's lost to time.
We lose him.
Unfortunately, but hey.
How it is sometimes with these boy groups.
I think look, with the amount of people we already have in this.
Yep. Alright, so then we have Wenhan. Wenhan was one of the vocalists of the group. He acts in several Chinese dramas, Female President, Hot Blood Academy, Basketball Fever, and Smile. Over the course of, like, 2016 to 2018. He then goes on Youth With You, season 1, and then debuts in U9, the winning group. U9 will then disband in 2020. He also wins that show. So we're on, like, pretty good track record for
He is the boy.
The boy. Yehua has a pretty good track record of the produced shows.
I think after that, I can't remember if there was any Yehua kid. After those first 2 seasons of produce where they didn't really do that well, they do amazing going forward on produce seasons.
Yeah.
Both in China and in Korea.
I know. Insane.
Absolutely amazing. Both of them.
Mm-hmm. So after the disbandment of U9, in 2021, he releases his first solo EP, and he is now sort of on the Chinese variety show circuit.
So many.
a lot of people will just do that, yeah.
There's so many Chinese variety shows. I had to pick a couple on here, but there's a lot of them.
So we've got as an MC for Super Hit and Perfect Summer, Mr. Housework 4, Youth and Melody, and I Am the Actor 3.
Yep.
He also does some acting in cdramas as well.
Yeah. Minor. He's always like a minor character, he's not really
not out here being Wang Yibo.
No, not out here doing main lead stuff, but like, dear God, is this man doing so many shows? And like, these Chinese shows go on for seasons. We're on, like, Mr. Housework 4. I don't even know how many, I'm a detective.
How? Yeah.
There's so many. I don't know how many, I can't imagine how many TV channels there are in China. It's a lot. But you know what? Good for him.
Good for him.
He very much went on the path that, like, most, like, the stereotypical, C-idol path, which is become a C-pop star, ride that for like a year and a half, then actually do what you want to do with your life. It's not really a passion project, because if you want to do music, he still does, and it's just as soloists. C-pop idols don't last very long.
C-pop as a genre, like, idol C-pop does not really exist.
No.
Like,
I also think
it's a fun side project for a lot of celebrities, and it's kind of like a jumping off point for a lot of people's careers. But
here's the thing with it. I think that C-pop is much more similar to K-pop in that, like, you know how, like, the Korean public does not actually care about K-pop? And, like, it is entirely bolstered by, like, international fans and, like, people being super into it. I think because China will not let, like, has the firewall, like, will not let anybody know about anything, the general public doesn't care about C-pop.
No.
So no one else can. Like, it really just seems like no one cares. And I don't even think they care.
Right.
So now we move on to the two maknaes, and then the big boys of this group.
The two big ones.
The people. Also, this is where we fucked up our audio somehow with the two people actually care about. The two
most important people out of this group.
Hey, somehow it ended up great because the two most important people in this group get saved for last. Sungjoo, also known as Woods. I'm probably gonna end up calling him Woods for the rest of this because that's how most people know him now.
Everyone at this point, everyone knows him as Woods. Yeah.
Yes. So, he is one of the two people in this group that I share a birthday with, August 5th. Happy birthday to all of us.
Forward, it's the two most important members of this group.
It's always rare for two people in any group to have the same birthday. And then it's both have the same birthday as I do, and then also the two most interesting people in this group. Yeah. Wild.
Something.
So he was the main rapper and vocalist of UNIQ.
Also wild that he used to be a rapper.
Oh, absolutely.
Insane.
Absolutely insane that he was a rapper. He auditioned more than 50 times for various entertainment companies, including SM and JYP, and then finally became a YG trainee, where he trained for 1.5 years before he became a member of UNIQ. Which is very funny because, can you imagine him, like, it was either that or he would probably have to go and win.
I know.
That
Insane.
or they would have kept him, like, in a bunker until Treasure.
Right.
I don't know.
It's either, because I feel like he definitely would have probably been on the winner half of that show and not the icon half of that show. So it's
I cannot imagine them throwing him in
with Bobby and BI. Like, what's the dynamic there?
And then also would not see him getting thrown in like mix and match era.
Right.
But yeah,
that's an insane thing to think about.
Oh, absolutely. So he has gone by, like, many stage names. Like, he started as, so in UNIQ, he went by his real name, Sungjoo. And then he starts going by Lucy, is what I'm going with. And then he appeared on Show Me the Money 5 under that name, which is insane.
Insane that he went on Show Me the Money
5.
Like, what?
What? He's also part of this, like, unofficial co-ed group called MOLA, Make Our Lives Awesome, which is him,
it's an acronym.
Nathan, a producer, Jimin from, like, 15 and like now she goes under Jamie, like, it's a whole thing. Vernon from 17, and Kino from Pentagon, and I'm like,
how do these people know each other?
How do any of you know each other? Also, what is the age range here?
It's insane, the age range.
It's insane. He composed "It's Okay" for Chinese show Idol Producer, and did a bunch of producing for like The Unit, Suju D&E, Babylon, Saran, and even did that Ravi Unha Pepsi song from a couple years ago.
Yep.
Weird. So then he goes back to the Produce series in Produce X, where he ranks 5th and debuts in X1. And then X1 falls apart.
And then X1 disbands in a month.
Disbands immediately, and then so he then resumes his solo career as Woods, releasing Equal in 2020 with the single Love Me Harder. Then he continues to do solo EPs until in October of 2022 his contract with Yequa expires, and then he leaves and signs with is it EDAM?
I would assume that's how you spell that or say that.
I'm assuming that's how you. I'm assuming it's not EDAM.
Yeah.
Entertainment, which is the same company that I use under.
Right.
So now he's just been releasing stuff under that company. Jesus, what a life.
He truly went through a time. And it's like, we've talked about Woods and how his, like, weird also relation to the Produce series as well, and, like, just that show, because that's also wild.
Because he will be producing songs, like,
for that group, for the show and the winning group, but then also goes on Produce X and then wins. It's like, what's happening?
He's the original Hui.
He is the original Hui. Damn.
Better Hui. Because UNIQ was never
He
Pentagon.
also, like, didn't go on that show and embarrass himself, so, you know.
That too. He did very well on that show.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he won that show, and he would still be an X1 if X1 still existed right now.
If X1 hadn't fallen apart.
Yep.
Honestly, it was probably a good thing.
The X1 for everyone who doesn't know, the X1 contract was 5 years, 2.5 years exclusive, 2.5 years not exclusive. So X1 was set to disband at the end of 2024. So we would still have X1 right now
for like another year.
Yeah,
that's insane.
It's insane to think about.
But yeah, Woods has had like a very long career in this industry and will continue to. Like he's like
a solid male soloist now, and he's just doing that, and he's thriving. Sometimes. Yeah.
Yes, and like he just goes in a lot of different directions, and it's very good for him. I don't necessarily love. His stuff from this year's been a little boring.
It was a little boring, but I get it because he said it was a very, like, personal album, and it's like, until everything is a lot more, like, chill and slower, and I'm like, I get that, like, that was the thing he wanted to do, so fine, sure.
I hope we go back to the liveliness, though.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, my
guy. The B-sides on that album were pretty good. Like, that was pretty more typical, but the title tracks and stuff and the pre-releases were, like, they're ballad-like, so, yeah.
Now we go to the big
The man, the myth, the legend, icon of this podcast.
I had to condense his life down so much.
He does a lot of things. I mean, he's an icon. He's truly iconic. We named an award after him on this podcast.
We do have an award named after this man.
But yes, we have Wang Yibo next. Also shares a birthday with Sammi. Not to the year, but to the day, at least.
Me and Woods, it's to the year.
Yes.
He's a year younger, which is insane.
Wild. Also wild that he's the maknae of this group and the career, the like entire success that he's had. So he was
how insane that this man is turning 27.
It's actually wild and that he's only 27. Like I don't like it. How successful he is and him being younger than me, it's like really sad. I don't like it. But he's
turning 26.
26.
I'm turning 27.
Oh yeah, he is turning 26.
Sorry. I just thought about it. I just like, no, that sounds wrong. Like, I'm turning 27. He's turning 26.
26. That's even worse.
He's just entered he's in his mid-20s right now.
Ugh. And he's so rich.
He's so successful.
So rich, so successful. It's insane.
It's amazing. It's insane.
But in UNIQ, he was main dancer, rapper, vocalist, visual, and the maknae.
Of course.
So he was the host on the variety show Day by Day from 2016 through 2021.
And I think he only stopped doing that because I think China started possibly... The thing with China is you hear so many rules being put in place on TV.
Yeah.
That I'm like, did this actually go in place? Were people just threatening it? What's going on? Because at some point they were like, well, hosts of variety shows need to at least have college degrees.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, okay. But I don't even know if that ever went into effect.
Right.
I don't know.
I don't know,
he probably got too busy.
2021 would have been when, like, survival shows were falling apart, and, like, China had that entire thing about...
Yeah, but this wasn't a survival show.
No, but I'm saying because I know Wang Yibo's a big part of that because of his fan. There was him and some other person's fan bases were, like, out of control, and that, like, caused, like, China to put a lot of restrictions onto, like, fan activity, and, like, the survival show thing was, like, adding into that and everything, so.
Yeah, I just think that it was a whole, like, a lot of bad times for everybody.
Mm-hmm. So he started acting in C-dramas in 2016, which shows, like, Love Actually. And in 2018, he will be the dance mentor for Produce 101 China. That is official Chinese produce.
That is the first season of official Chinese produce.
Yes.
Unlike Youth With You, where Wenhan was on, which is unofficial Chinese produce.
That's technically the second season of unofficial Chinese produce.
Yes, and Yehua will put trainees on all of
them.
I mean, they put trainees on All for One, and that's not even, like, real or fake Chinese produce.
I know, Yehua
that's, like, offshoot.
Is all over the place.
Produce 101 China is the season where, like, all of the WJSN girls are on.
Yes. Yes.
Except for
Shang Zhao, who was a mentor on the other show.
Who's a mentor on Idol producer.
Yeah.
We could do a full episode about where all of the Yehua kids go.
It's insane.
And it's so much.
We've also talked about this a lot in, like, the produced thesis. The Yehua Entertainment entanglement with the produced series is actually insane.
And, like, this year it got weirder.
It's even weirder. Oh my god, they're all over the place. It's insane. It's wild.
They are, like, you know how everyone says, like, Scandinavians have, like, it's like the Scandinavians with Eurovision.
Right.
They've got the formula down to a science.
Mm-hmm.
They know how to do well.
Yep.
Somehow Yehua got a Chinese kid to be the #1 kid in a produce.
All of this was building up to them in current day getting 4/9 of a group Yehua. Like, insane. So after that, he acts in Gank Your Heart in 2019. Have a full episode on that. It's a wild show. And then he debuts as a soloist with his digital single, Fire. He also does sing the theme song for Gank Your Heart.
He does, and that does extremely well,
It's a very fun song. And so in 2019 is where we really get the big one, where he stars in The Untame as Lan Wangji, and that essentially shoots him to, like, stardom, like, to be the absolute like, #1 celebrity of China. And so that gained a massive popularity and recognition, not only in China, but overseas as well. Because it's very gay, that show, if people did not know.
It's very gay, but also very good.
Yes.
Also watch our full episode on The Untamed.
We also have full episode on The Untamed. We have a lot of Wang Yibo related content on this podcast.
Also watch our episode from, like, last year where we also just rank various ads he's in.
We do rank Wang Yibo ads. That was also an episode.
He does a lot of them. He does a lot of, like, paid promotions for various products.
He does. He has an insane amount of, like, CF deals. Like,
oh yeah,
crazy.
And, like, they're not cheap CF deals.
No.
Like, they're, like, some expensive shit.
And it's like it's like fancy shit, and also we do, like, Kentucky Fried Chicken and, like, a lot of stuff.
KFC ads.
Yeah. So that year he enters Forbes China Celebrity 100 and 30 Under 30 for the first time.
And I think he's been on there ever since.
Until he probably will be on that list until he is no longer under 30.
He will be in the Celebrity 100 for a very long time. He will be in the 30 Under 30
until
for the next 4 years.
The next 4 years, because he's only 26.
He's only 26. In 2019, he would have been. That was 4 years ago. He would have been 22.
I hate that so much. Oh my god,
it's
insane to think about. Actually. On December 30th, 2019, he releases his single No Sense, and within 20 minutes of its release, 6 million digital copies were sold, with the sales exceeding 18 million yuan. After 10 hours, he got 10 million digital copies, and that those sales exceed 30 million yuan. Very successful, man. And then
it's an insane amount of
the influence he has.
I converted the 30 million yuan to US dollars. That's $4 million.
God.
In 10 hours.
It's so much money.
That's, like, insane.
It's an insane amount of money to make in 10 hours.
In 10 hours. It's wild.
In 2020, he joined Street Dance of China 3 as a main host and team captain, and then stays on that show for seasons 4 and 5.
I don't know if they're going to make any more seasons, but so far at season 5, he's still there.
Street Dance of China, fun show.
Very fun. So weird rules. There's a lot of weird rules, but, like, just vibes. The vibes are correct.
Yep.
Also, at some point, like, Lei is on that show. Henry's on that show.
10's on that show, I think.
No, 10's not on that one. Who was on season 3? I think Jackson was on that show in season 3. I think 10 is on, like, that, like, contemporary dance one. He's not Street Dance of China.
He's on a weird one with, like, a bunch of people that we know from Produce, but I don't know what show that is. So he then does a lot more acting. After The Untamed, like Legend of Faye, Being a Hero, Liu Yang, and Faith Makes Great. In 2022, he releases his 4th annual New Year's single, released a midday December 30th, and becomes China's biggest selling single of 2022 before the year was over.
So essentially in 12 hours, it became the most successful song in 2022.
Crazy.
That's insane.
But this was a man who made $4 million in 10 hours, so, you know.
I don't mention his New Year singles that much.
But that's like an actually insane statistic.
That's a great
like,
thing.
Who else has that power?
I don't know. And then also there's the fact that, like, he is also, like, you know how I said, like, a bunch of them are just doing other random Chinese variety shows? Uh-huh. He's also at the same time doing a bunch of Chinese variety shows.
He's also on the Chinese variety show, like, rotation.
Circuit.
Yep.
Amazing. And, like, so is, like, any person you think of, like, oh, why did they stop being a K-pop? Like, all of those, like, WJSN girls, they're also doing the variety show circuit.
Yep.
Sheng Zhao,
the cdramas.
Fucking thriving.
Absolutely thriving.
She's doing amazing. But, like, a lot of them are just doing so much better than you can imagine.
Oh, yes. Way better than they ever would have done had they
been absolutely. You compare Sheng Zhao to the girl that ended up on Queendom Puzzle from Cosmic Girls?
Yeah. Insane.
Oof.
Most recent update on Wang Yibo is in 2023, he started his first movie, Hidden Blade, which actually also opened in select theaters across the US, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand for a limited one-day event.
You could go for one day.
One day to see it.
It was one day in theaters in very select theaters.
Yep.
I did look into it. I would have had to go to New York City. And I'm like,
oh,
no.
That's annoying. Yeah. So he's been started 2 more films, also released this year, Born to Fly and One and Only.
Thing with Born to Fly, so, Hidden Blade is actually done with, like, other very respected actors in China. Like, it's actually, like, a crime film that apparently is very, very good. Born to Fly is what I can only describe as Chinese Top Gun Maverick.
Uh-huh.
Because it is just about Chinese fighter pilots.
Interesting.
Watch the trailer. It is just Top Gun Maverick, but it's...
The poster is also giving Top Gun Maverick.
It's Chinese Top Gun Maverick, only Americans won't like it because instead of U.S. propaganda,
because it's Chinese
like
propaganda.
Maverick, it's Chinese propaganda.
Yeah.
Because if you watch them, if you watch the trailers, they are identical movies. It's just that they're each propaganda for their own country.
Makes sense.
That's the thing with Chinese. A lot of times, because we saw it a little bit with Gank Your Heart.
Yep.
China is the only country that engages in, like, similar types of propaganda to the U.S. Because if you watch American shows and you've seen other country shows, you realize how propaganda-filled.
Yep.
We have it.
A lot.
And it's just different propaganda. It's the same thing, just different country.
Right. You know, it's how it is.
Just saying. But yeah, no, Born to Fly is just Top Gun Maverick, China.
But yep, that's all of UNIQ and where they're at currently.
At the end of this, you wonder, do they deserve better? And I don't know how to answer that, because I don't think UNIQ, I think they're like, you know what, I think Wang Yibo would be like, I think I'm fine.
I think they're doing pretty good. Like, I don't think they're doing bad.
I think Woods thinks he's doing fine.
Wang Yibo made $4 million in 10 hours, so I don't think he's that upset about it.
I think fine. He's fine. I think he's fine. I think Woods thinks he's fine. I think probably Wenhan is fine. I don't know about the other 3, about the other 2, but I think 3 of them at least think they're fine.
I think they're doing fine.
I don't think they want anything else. Mm-hmm. I would hope Wang Yibo doesn't want anything else. Like, you know what I always wanted? I wanted to be BTS.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I feel like he's doing fine. He's doing
I think he's
absolutely
doing
fine.
We usually don't make happy episodes.
Right. Is it sad that UNIQ is in a group? I guess, but also I think that was just holding them back, really.
This is like if we ever did an episode on Zia.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, I don't think Zia needed to still, like... I think it's fine.
I think okay.
Everyone probably is okay with where they are with their lives. I think they've made peace with it.
Yeah.
Like, and also these boys don't, like, they all seem like they are, I mean, they congratulated what's-his-name on his marriage. Like, everyone just seems like they're still, like... So, like, I feel like if they ever wanted to do, like, a digital single, they'd be fine.
Yeah.
Or a collab. They just don't... Like, I don't feel like any of them have the time or the want.
Right. That's the thing.
Seems delightful.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm happy for them. I'm happy that it all turned out as well as it did.
Honestly. It could have been a lot worse for them, and considering
also,
the amount of them and their success, it's like, they're fine.
Here's the thing with this, I think Yehua is perfectly okay with what happened to UNIQ.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think Yehua has any complaints about it either.
Because every other time I'm like, well, this company probably kind of doesn't love their investment. I'm like, I think Yehua got enough out of that investment.
In a way, they really used UNIQ in the way that, like, a lot of celebrities use, like, C-pop groups, where it's like they do a couple of things and then they use it as a jumping off point for their career. Like, that's essentially what happened with UNIQ. Like,
yeah, you springboard this shit off of them. They're fine.
They're fine.
They're perfectly okay. Mm-hmm. I think this is everything you could have asked for from
really any of these people, or from the entire situation as a whole.
Absolutely. And I think, honestly, they look like they're having a good time. They look like they're having fun.
Yep.
I think Santa was on Street Dance of China recently.
That feels correct. He's also on the Chinese variety show circuit. Like,
good for Santa.
Yeah.
Not Santa that was on Boys Fantasy. The other Santa.
Original Japanese Santa.
That was on Chwang 2021?
Yes?
Yes. Yes, that is correct. That is where he was. Sorry, it takes a little bit to remember.
We've watched 15 seasons of this show at this point. Like, there's a lot.
A lot of the Chinese ones start to blur because there's
especially when there's 2 seasons of it that are airing every single year. Like, it's a lot to remember.
I will say, I do think if I had to compare country to country, Boys Planet does throw a wrench in it because Boys Planet does make us consider it produce.
Yeah.
But I think those Chinese seasons are really good.
They are pretty good.
Like, in terms of country.
Yeah.
Because then you have, like, you gotta think about, like, Korea's the country that had Produce season 1, and I'm like, eh.
And then X1, Produce X kind of came and threw a wrench in things because of the rigging of it all, and it's like...
Yeah.
And then Girls Planet was a weird experimental thing in the middle, and that, like, didn't really help anybody, so...
No.
But anyway.
But yes, it's a good time.
Happy birthday.
I think they're happy.
Yes.
Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to
Wang Yibo and to Woods. Also.
Congrats.
And yes, and the audio for the episode this time will not get fucked up, so it'll be
Yay!
It'll be good now.
We'll actually have an episode.
Yes.
Also, God damn it, Wang Yibo, why are you so successful at the age of 26?
It's terrible. Makes me feel bad about myself.
As we record this, he is 25 years old.
I don't like that. It's don't like it.
Recontextualizing him to be somehow younger than he, like, because it's like, he turning 26.
Right?
He's not, he did all this at the age of 25.
God.
I don't even think you can become a fighter pilot at 25.
Probably not.
That feels like too young.
You can't, in the US, you can't even get a rental car until you're 25, so.
Yeah, but that don't mean anything. The US Army will do anything.
True.
Like, you're an 18-year-old body they'll let you do. But I don't know if they'd let you on, like, those multi-billion-dollar jets at 25. But yeah, no, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
Well, we're finally, I think, done with our UNIQ saga.
Yes.
I don't think there's anywhere else to go.
I don't think there is, unless they somehow decide to have a comeback.
To make a comeback?
For some reason.
I think that we will continue to see them vaguely in, like, stuff we talk about.
Right.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Woods ends up as a judge on a show we end up talking about or something. But I don't think that we will ever have UNIQ content again.
Right.
This is unfortunate.
Feels about right.
Especially now because Woods isn't even in Yehua anymore.
Yep.
And, like, there wasn't even one of those where I'm leaving the company. No one talks about UNIQ. UNIQ hasn't been talking about in years. Like, it wasn't even one of those where they're like, I'm leaving the company but not leaving UNIQ. It's like, he just said, I'm leaving the company. And I'm like, yep. You don't need to say you're leaving UNIQ. UNIQ's not been a group in years.
Because no one cares.
No one gives a shit. I cared for a little bit. We were the last people to stop caring.
Yep. Alright, so that has been UNIQ. Hooray. We are available on all major podcasting platforms like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We also have a YouTube channel where we post all of our episodes along with occasional fun clip videos as well. And with that, we will see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.